With Gabriel getting injured during international break and now a doubt for game week 12, the big question is, do we sell him? Who are the best replacements? Or do we just keep him in our teams? Those are the big questions that we're going to be answering in today's game week 12 transfer plans video, alongside my own plans. So as always, if you're looking forward to today's video, make sure to drop a like and of course, hit that subscribe button. Enough waffling, let's get to today's video. So first up, I'm just going to provide a quick recap on how my team is looking for game week 12 right now. I need to remind myself, to be honest with you, what it is looking like because the international break is finally coming to an end. And if you made an early transfer, of course you knew the risks that was going to happen. And one of those was, of course, the injury that has now been sustained to Gabriel. Now, at the time of recording right now, we don't know the severity of the Gabriel injury, but it does look like from early indications that he could be ruled out for game week 12. Now, of course, do not be making any transfers right now regarding him until the Friday press conferences because, of course, Arteta will probably lie to us, but we might get some insider information that says Gabriel is going to have minor surgery or he is just going to be rested for the weekend in preparation for game week 13. So we don't know the severity of it right now, and I will be going into some detail about the best replacements, but do not be making any moves right now until you actually get confirmation, which I think we will get at the end of the week. So hold tight right now, but I will go through some replacements in a minute. In terms of my team for game week 12, looking okay. 2 transfers in the bank, 1.5 million available to me. And the bench right now, to be honest, is looking pretty decent. Ndai, Anderson and Rodon. This is a bench boostable week. So I'm looking at my team at the time of recording, and there isn't any urgent transfers that I believe need to be made. Of course, we'll go into some detail in a minute about my chip strategy because I think that's really important with the impending Africa Cup of Nations transfers, and also the deadline for us to use our chips is really important to note. But really, on the face of it, I think my team looks absolutely fine. Even if Gabriel was not to play, but it was only a short-term injury, I could have Anderson come in for the home game against Sunderland, or Rodon at home against Aston Villa. So both are actually perfectly viable to replace Gabriel in this team. And I'm even benching Ndai right now away against Man United, which shows the depth of the squad that I have right now. So all in all, I'm pretty content with my team, but of course we need to see how things go on. The important thing about today's video is addressing Gabriel and what I'm going to be doing in my future weeks, because even though game week 12 might look a bit more easier to navigate, it's all about how we navigate future game weeks and of course get rid of our transfers before the Africa Cup of Nations. So let's take a look at some Gabriel replacements, then let's take a look at chip strategy, and then we'll get into my long-term plans, which is really what it's all about. So if we get the news that Gabriel is out for, let's say, 2 game weeks, that's going to be game week 12 and game week 13. And we also need to put a reminder that game week 14 is a mid-week game week. So if he's out for 12 and he's definitely out for 13, 14 is only going to be 3 or 4 days after game week 13. So you then have to put the kind of thought process that he's also going to be a big doubt for game week 13. So a quick reiteration, if it is a short-term injury, I think you can keep Gabriel as long as you have the substitutes on your bench to replace him for game week 13 or 12, and then you can reassess afterwards. However, what we need to remind ourselves about is that we need to use our Africa Cup of Nations transfers by game week 15 because they give us 5 extra. So if you're sat there right now with 4 free transfers and there's doubt of Gabriel being out for 12 and 13, I would say using your transfers to get rid of him actually isn't a bad play at all. You can bring him back in for game week 14, 15, 16, whenever you do require. Because the Arsenal fixtures for the next 2, I would say, are not amazing. Spurs much better away from home. Chelsea away is going to be a tough fixture no matter what you think. But then afterwards, Brentford, Villa, Wolves, Everton, I still want a piece of that Arsenal defence. So if you have no Arsenal coverage outside of Gabriel, I think the obvious move is going to Timber. I still think Arsenal defensively are going to be really good regardless with Gabriel in, because they got obviously Mosquera who can come in, and him Kempe, is it? Who also can play left side of centre back. So they are stacked in those areas alongside Calaflori. And Timber for me is still the go-to guy in that Arsenal defence outside of Gabriel. 0.28 expected goal involvement per 90 is decent, really good for bonus points, and he started the last 10 league matches. Could Ben White come in for 1 game? Yes, I think Ben White could easily come in for the midweek game in game week 14, but I still think Timber is the next best pick in the Arsenal defence. So if you have no other Arsenal, I think Gabriel to Timber makes a lot of sense. If you're in a position right now where you own Raya or you already own Timber, I think we could actually navigate to a bit more of a one Arsenal defender strategy and actually look at other options. So the first one is going to be the cheap pick in O'Reilly at 5 million. So started the last 7 of 8 league matches, 1 goal, 2 assists. And it really looks like he has got himself down as the starting left back in this team. Now, Aït-Nouri has been injured for a while during this period, so there absolutely is a possibility where O'Reilly and Aït-Nouri go toe-to-toe for Premier League game time for the foreseeable future. But the way that Pep's talked about O'Reilly, the way that he's integrated himself in this England squad, I think while he's on this kind of curve trajectory, you kind of do have to back him to continue playing for Man City. And at 5 million, it's a great price point to get yourself into these Man City fixtures. However, if we're looking at game week 12 in isolation, do I like Newcastle away? Not really. But after that, Leeds, Fulham, Sunderland, Palace, West Ham is a decent run of fixtures. My thought process on Riley is this. If you have your free hit available and you're looking to do it in game week 13, which is a common strategy, one that which I might be taking, I don't think you go to O'Reilly. I don't think game week 12 is great. You could put him in for a free hit in game week 13. Game week 14 away against Fulham. Fulham are really bad right now, but it's not a fixture that I feel desperate to own O'Reilly. Then from game week 15, we got 3 game weeks worth of data. Then we could put O'Reilly in if we really want him for game week 15. So by that, I think Van Dijk is going to be the obvious pick, and this is where the common trend is going to go. I'm certain of it. 10.91 defensive contributions per 90. It's worth noting O'Reilly and Timber are not going to hit consistent defensive contributions. And the fixtures for Liverpool start now. Forest at home, West Ham, Sunderland, Leeds, Brighton, Spurs. Yes, I know Liverpool have been a little bit up and down this season, and I think that might continue, to be honest with you. I don't think Slot's found a solution. But what I do think is there will be times where Liverpool pick up clean sheets along the way just because they are a better team than what they are coming up against over this period. And we know Van Dijk is guaranteed for minutes. We know he is super consistent full defensive contributions, and he now and then chips in with a goal, and it keeps you at that premium price point if you ever need to pivot to another direction. So for me, if you don't have any other Arsenal, go to Timber. If you have already some Arsenal, like myself with Raya, I think Van Dijk is a really nice pick. I don't think O'Reilly is the one to go for, especially if you have your free hit available where you can just put him in for that great game against Leeds in game week 13. But of course, my overall advice is keep Gabriel for now until we get those press conference information. So I think the upcoming fixtures are absolutely pivotal to the success that some managers are going to get over the next few weeks. And the reason being is because we have a few things happening. So first up, I've got the fixture run between game week 12 up until game week 19. The reason why I've got that period is because game week 19, basically prior to that deadline, is your chip deadline. So this is the first season where we're getting double the amount of chips. Hopefully you've noticed that by now. But that means that if you've got your free hit available, your triple captain, you've got to use it by game week 19. So you can use it on game week 19 and then that is it. Once the deadline's passed, any chips that you have will go and we will be given our second lot of chips from game week 20 onwards. So it's really important to understand that we have got this many game weeks between game week 12 and game week 19. So if you're sat there with all your chips, it might be worth getting a plan in place. For myself, I've got my free hit and triple captain still available. So the red lines there that you can see are cup competitions midweek, whether that be Conference League, Champions League, FA Cup, EFL Cup. So you can see that between game week 12 and 13, between game week 15 and 16, and 16 and 17. So for those teams that do have big squads and a bit of a rotation, you have to ask yourself the question, if the fixtures are good, am I also buying a player that could be actually a bit of a rotation risk? So for me, just going through each game week 12, it's important to note off the back of an international break, but also the start of Liverpool's really good fixture run. And I would also say Man United's decent run of fixtures as well for anyone that doesn't have any Man United players. It's also worth noting United, one of those teams that don't have European football. So they're ones that are really just focusing on the Premier League for the next few weeks. For me in game week 13 is going to be my potential free hit. The reason being, if you take a look at game week 13 in isolation, Liverpool away against West Ham, I don't mind, and I don't have any Liverpool, so it feels like a nice week to maybe take a punt on some players who I think could start that game. In terms of Crystal Palace, home against Man United could actually be a week where I'm heavily invested in Palace to go against them for that particular week. Because Man City at home against Leeds, I need to get 2 more Man City in that team. And I don't really know the one to go for right now. So a free hit feels like a great week to assess once we get there. Then, of course, we've got Brentford at home against Burnley. I already own Thiago. I think that's a nice differential pick. Villa at home against Wolves. If they continue their improvements as a team, that's a great opportunity to be a bit different. And even Spurs at home against Fulham. I know Spurs have been terrible at home. I know Fulham have been a little bit erratic. But maybe a differential may emerge in that Spurs team. So I think there's some great options in that free hit team. Then in game week 14 is a midweek. So remember, if you're investing in Man City, be cautious. We could see rotation. Very easily, O'Reilly could be benched 4 and 8 Nori. The big thing is going to be game week 15, okay? This is your final game week before we get given the 5 Africa Cup of Nations transfers in game week 16. So, for example, take me. I've got 2 transfers. If I roll in game week 12 and then I free hit in game week 13, I will have 3 free transfers in game week 14. So if I then don't make any transfers for the next few weeks, I'm going to be given 1 transfer from the African Cup of Nations 5 top up. So my advice is this: get yourself to game week 15, use all your transfers so that in game week 16, they give you 5 extra. If you have 4 free transfers in game week 15, like I said, and you get to game week 16, they're only going to give you 1 extra. You can only have a maximum of 5. So for me, if I'm going down the strategy of rolling in 12, free hit in 13, I'm going to have 3 free transfers in game week 14, and it's a midweek. I've got to make sure that I actually know where I'm investing it. So for example, Liverpool might be the place to go. Man United. It's important to note, get yourself down to 0 transfers after the game week 15 deadline so you can really capitalise on the Africa Cup of Nations transfers 5 top up. Game week 17 is my triple captain. However, I am very, very open to whenever this could be. Who knows, by then, maybe Erling Haaland has an injury and that West Ham game suddenly isn't a viable pick. And as I discussed, game week 19 is the chip deadline. So it's a bit of an overview. I know it's a little bit in the distance, but it really is going to come about very quickly, especially with a midweek game week in game week 14. Before you know it, we're going to be closer to the Africa Cup of Nations. And if you've got 5 transfers, you're going to be scrambling to get them all gone to get the benefit of the transfers. So let me know what your plans are in the comment section. I feel like I'm getting a bit more settled on exactly what I want to do. So finally, take a look at my game week 12 transfer plans at a bit longer term, because like I said, game week 12 is going to be all about what happens with Gabriel, and we kind of just got to sit tight right now. Hopefully get some leaks about how severe the injury is, because I don't think Arteta is going to give us the full extent. But when we take my team as an example right now, you can see here I've currently got Anderson at home against Sunderland on the bench and Rodon at home against Aston Villa. So we'll go through exactly why I potentially might keep Gabriel. The reason for this game week is that I've got replacements. So if we get the news that Gabriel is going to be touch and go, I obviously will keep him. I will start him and hope for the best. But even if we get the news that it could be short term, I think there is a good chance that I might keep Gabriel around for a bit longer. It's a defender that I know I want, but I know that Arteta has alternatives available to him. So it isn't like the previous seasons where he's just going to rush Gabriel back at any cost because he's got no one else available apart from, Carl Jenkinson or Rob Holding. So he actually has options available to him, which makes me think Gabriel might get eased back in. Regardless, I have the squad to allow me to actually keep Gabriel around. So for example, what we could do is bring in Anderson for Gabriel and keep him on the bench. And my plan would still be to roll the transfer. When I look at the fixtures for game week 12, what don't I have? That's the thing that I always ask myself the question, what don't I have? Well, I don't have Liverpool against Forest, but do I think Sean Dyche's not on a Forest is a bit better than that of Ange's? Yes. I still don't know which Liverpool to go to. Yes, I don't have Virgil van Dijk, but do I think I am desperate to own him? Even if Gabriel doesn't play with the 3 that I have in defence, the answer is no. So I'm happy to avoid Van Dijk for now, and the rest of the games I feel like I'm quite well covered. So when we go into game week 13, this is why I plan on potentially keeping Gabriel, because when I look at the fixtures as we discussed, this is the week that I am eyeing up a free hit. So we've got double Arsenal away against Chelsea, not ideal. I've got Man United up against my Crystal Palace. Now, this is a game where it really will dictate how successful the free hit is, because if we go off the assumption that that is going to be a tough affair, and I go against Crystal Palace, then I am taking a risk But if I get it right, I think the free hit will be really successful in this week. And of course, it gives me a chance to lean into some differentials in the squad. So if I was to activate my free hit here in game week 13, I'm not going to build the whole thing for you, but just to give you an indication of what I might do with my team. If we were to take out Gabriel and of course try and target some of the good fixtures, let's say a Virgil van Dijk comes in for the away game against West Ham. I could potentially take out Mateta and bring in an Ollie Watkins for his game at home against Wolves if they continue to be poor under Edwards, which of course he hasn't had an opportunity yet to do so. If we look at the rest of the fixtures, it feels like a great opportunity if there is good game time for a Phil Foden to bring him in, and also potentially for a Nico O'Reilly to get some minutes if I'm able to squeeze him into this team. Again, I don't know whether he will be a viable pick at this time and whether I can actually select him. But again, at home against Leeds feels like a good opportunity for me to bring him in. What you can see right now is I'm already bringing in a few differentials that I think could elevate the squad for this game. And even still, I could bring in some other differentials. I don't want to build the whole thing, but you can see what angle that I'm coming from, where the opportunities lie in this team. Then for game week 14, like I discussed, I'll then come back to 3 free transfers, and a team looking like this. Now, I've not had Gabriel for game week 12. I've free hitted with him still remaining in my team for game week 13. I'm going to come back to him in game week 14, which of course is a midweek fixture that you can see on your screens here. So I need to understand this. If I get to game week 14 and there's still doubts about Gabriel and Liverpool are at home against Sunderland, who yes have been good, but I still probably want a piece of that Liverpool defence, this might be the time for me to move away from Gabriel. I've still got my investment in Raya between the sticks, but it allows me some flexibility. And also, I need to remember, I'm going to get 5 free transfers in game week 16 with the African Cup of Nations. So I want to make sure I capitalise on that. So maybe in this game week, it will be the time for me to move to Virgil van Dijk. I don't feel like I need him prior to this because I can own him in a game week 13 free hit. So then he could come in for game week 14. And again, what fixtures don't I own in game week 14 that is also midweek? Well, really, an Arsenal attacker at home against Brentford is one that I am missing, which I would like to maybe address. But if I can't get there, then it isn't the end of the world. Maybe I can pivot and get rid of Thiago down to a cheap enabler and improve my midfielder. But again, like I discussed, game week 16, you get your 5 free transfers in total, and I need to get them gone by game week 15. But who knows what's going to happen between now and then. But what is quite clear is that in game week 12, I have the flexibility to keep Gabriel around, especially with a free hit in game week 13. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Yes, guys, okay, that's going to wrap up today's video, looking at my updated Game Week 12 transfer plans and, of course, a focus on Gabriel and exactly what's going to happen with him. I'm going to be doing daily videos between now and the Game Week 12 deadline. We're finally back after the international break, so if you haven't already, it'd be awesome if you could subscribe to the channel and, of course, drop a like on this video if you did enjoy it. Any questions, please put them in the comments section. I'm sure there have been quite a few that have come up about after the international break, and importantly, have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Cheers.